Praise y'all, brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High. The one who's been with us all day long, seen everything, protected us from those things that came to harm us, opened doors of opportunities for us, closed doors that were going to bring harm. His eye is over the righteous, and his ears are open to our cries. Baruch are all those who revere Yahuah and walk in his ways. Tehillim 128 verse 1. It's not right or wrong. It's not right or wrong. It's either good or evil. Saying right or wrong gives room for man's interpretations and allowances. There's wiggle room. There's choices. Today's philosophy is people have the right to do as they feel led. Citizens of Yah's kingdom desire and seek that is good, and they work to shun evil. Remember the instructions in the garden that Yahuah gave to not partake of that fruit of that certain tree in the midst of the garden? So Bereshith chapter 2 verse 16, and Yahuah Aluah commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it. For in that day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. He said, every tree of the garden. So was that the tree of life also? Every tree, but just that one. Don't. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because man rejected the voice of Aluah and partook of that tree, the evil one now has access to communicate with man. Prior to that choice to follow the counsel of another, that other was Eve, Adam only communed with Father up to that point. He only knew his voice. He only did what he commanded him to do. He did only the things his father did. And yet when the Father commanded the man, it says he commanded him, saying, he chose that day to listen to Eve, knowing that he always did the things his father told him to do and the things his father did. Now he was going to hear two voices, one of good, one of evil. The voice speaking evil offers him choices that would influence and lure him to fleshly pleasures that are evil continuously. That voice puffs up and tries to make us think that we are as wise as any other. Or he works at convincing us that we lack. He causes his voice to sound like our voice, so we will believe it until we don't remember that Aluah is our Roheg. He says in Tehillim 23 that we shall not lack nor want for any good thing. He says our cup runs over. He leads us in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And he goes on and on and on. That voice of evil has opportunities now to taunt our thoughts of doubts of Aluah's plans of good, not of evil for us. And that is written in Jeremiah, Yahuah 29:11. Before the fall, Adam only knew the voice of Aluah, the voice of good. Then remember how in the wilderness, they could not take hearing Yahuah's voice and told Musa to talk to him and tell us what he says. Because the power of his instructions were earth-shaking and dreadful to the hearts of sinful men. The terror it brought to hear Yahuah's expectation and right rulings was overwhelming. And it reads in Exodus 20. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Musa, you speak with us, and we will hear. But let not Aluah speak with us, lest we die. And Musa said unto the people, fear not, for Aluah is come to prove you, and that his fear may be upon your faces, that you not sin. Is there anything in me greater than fearing the Almighty? Is there anything in me so arrogant to cause me to feel I can withstand Yah's wrath? Is there anything in me so evil that I would dare do an act that would resemble spitting in Yah's face, to not remember all the acts of love for me and the great innumerable deliverances he gave me, by doing as our ancestors have done, to wickedly abandon the loving, true, and faithful one? The reason why I'm asking these questions is because the children of Yashrael's fear of Yahuwah's voice was short-lived. Adam chose to relinquish what he had with Yah and to miss and ignore what Yahuwah told him what would be the consequences of that choice. So Yah, I plead for deliverance from this evil in me. How great is the darkness in me is mentioned, Yahushua mentioned in Matthew 6. How great is that darkness in me? I asked, what is the spirit that was in Caleb? Because the father said that he was of another spirit. Out of the original thousands that left Mizraim, only Joshua and Caleb received the promise. Numbers 24:24. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him and has followed me fully. That was that spirit he had. He followed Yahuwah fully. Him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. He's talking about when they went in to spy out the land. He said he's gonna allow him to go in that land where he went, and his seed will possess it. Doubtless you shall not come into the land, talking to the other people, concerning what I swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. Only those two. Out of all those hundreds and thousands of people, only those two. We need to have that type of following of Yahuwah. Dedication, allegiance, and commitment. But I want to believe that we're like the 4 lepers in 2 Kings 3:20, asking, why sit we here and die? So they got up and they went. It was during a famine. And as they approached the Syrians' camp looking for food, the enemy, the Syrians, fled thinking a host was coming. Yah had caused it to sound like it was a host of armies coming. And they ran, leaving all their food and riches. They even left the horses. Instead of jumping on the horses and running, they left the horses. Famine was over for the lepers that day, who got up and sought food. They ate and went and told their king of the food and the treasures to help end their famine. Oh, if we could do that now. But we have to be. I'm just shaking my head. Y'all can't see me, but I'm shaking my head because sometimes it's hard to tell people things. And sometimes it's hard to listen and hear too. So, we can all, I guess, get that way about ourselves. Those seeking that life-sustaining bread will escape the famine of the word. For the word is the bread. Remember, Yahushua said he was the bread come down from heaven. It wasn't as the manna that the ancestors ate, but he was the true bread. Based on Amos 8, verse 11, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread nor thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahuwah. And we've gone through that drought, and now people are coming into seeking the truth, being drawn to the truth, and their famine is being diminished. Yahuwah sent his bin for the lost sheep of Yashrael. In Yohanan 3, verse 19, and this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men loved the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his work should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen, that their works have been in Aluah. What is the truth? The Torah, right? The Torah. The first part, Yohanan 3:16, it says that he so loved the world. I don't believe that, because Yahushua said he came for the lost sheep of Yisrael. He didn't come for the whole world. But that's how I feel. I'm not saying that's the truth. That's just the way I see it. That's what he said. He didn't say he came for the world. He said he came for the lost sheep of Yisrael. Kings during the time of Jehoshaphat and Dawood and Hezekiah and Josiah and all of those, Joash, all of those, Solomon, they're described in the scriptures of either doing good or evil before Yahuwah, not right or wrong. And our actions are either good or evil by Yah's standards. His laws will keep us focused on walking in his ways based on Tehillim 128, which I just quoted that when we opened up. Baruch is everyone who fears and reveres and worship Yahuwah, who walks in his ways and lives according to his commandments. This is translation is from the Amplified Version, and I really like it. It says, Baruch is everyone who fears and reveres and worship Yahuwah, who walks in his ways and lives according to his commandments. Let's look at Yoshef, who knew it was evil and against Yahuwah to sleep with Potiphar's wife. So based on Jubilee chapter 39, verses 2 through 7, he knew it was more than bad. He knew it was evil. And Yoshef was 17 years old when they took him down to the land of Mizraim, and Potiphar, a eunuch of Pharaoh, the chief cook, bought him. And he set him over all his house. And the blessing of Yahuwah came upon the house of the Mizraim on account of Yoshef. And Yahuwah prospered him in all that he did. And the Mizraim committed everything into the hands of Yosef, for he saw that Yahuwah was with him, and that Yahuwah prospered him in all that he did. And Yosef's appearance was comely, and very beautiful was his appearance. And his master's wife lifted up her eyes and saw Yosef, and she loved him and besought him to lie with her. I don't know why they said love, sound more like lust, but anyways. But he did not surrender his soul. And he remembered Yahuwah and the words which Yaakov his father used to read from amongst the words of Abraham, that no man should commit fornication with a woman who has a husband, that for him the punishment of death has been ordained in the Shamayim before the Most High Aluah, and the sin will be recorded against him in the eternal books continually before Yahuwah. And Yoshef remembered these words and refused to lie with her. Listen to this. That's going to be written in the eternal books continually before Yahuwah. And he remembered the words that his father used to tell him. And isn't that what Yahuwah told us to do, to talk to our children all the time? So his father was reading to him from the words of Abraham. Now the King James Version says, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master doesn't want for what is in his house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. But there is none greater in his house than I. Neither has he kept back anything from me, but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Aluah? He didn't say against her husband. He didn't say against her. He said this great wickedness and sin against Aluah. Great wickedness is not wrong. He didn't say not against her husband. So he said, I can't do this wrong. He said this great wickedness. So it is either whether it is good or evil. I said that the other day to someone regarding a current situation in the news. We were talking about this situation in the news. And then I said, it's evil. And they got quiet. I said, well, everything is either good or evil. And they got really quiet. And I know that's because it's not heard in conversations these days to hear someone say good or evil. They say right or wrong, good or bad. In the majority of situations, following and agreeing with the majority will lead to destruction. That's why, like, I don't know if you ever watched Western movies when they wanted to, or even during the Jim Crow era, different times in our history when they wanted to lynch people. Usually it was one person says something and everybody, a mob went and they agreed with it and they were killing people. Or voting. If you're ever in some type of club, is it let's vote? Oh, the majority wins. So most things in that we would deal with today when they want to vote, the majority is usually not necessarily right. Okay. Just because everyone is doing something doesn't make it quote unquote right. And just because no one or only one person is doing something doesn't make it quote unquote wrong. Our actions are either righteous, not right, or they're wicked, not wrong. With Yahuah, there are two categories of behavior and choices: righteousness or wickedness. That is sobering. This realization has caused me to see with real eyes that I have been just as hoodwinked as the next. I also swallowed hook, line, and sinker the religious thought patterns. And religion was nothing but a creative captivity. We were slaves to it. I watered down the severity of sin just as well as the next person. I thought I was good to go on in. I really did. I knew I had to, go before him and ask him to blot out my transgressions when I knew I did wrong. But for the most part, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Yet I did not realize that I was not living by most of Yah's laws until he brought this to my attention about the law. And just the other morning, I woke up and he was talking to me. He says, it's not right and it's not wrong. It is good or evil. And I was like, oh my. Just thinking about the blood laws would cause one to rise to a realization that he has a strict expectation. And the blood laws I'm talking about is not just the eating and the drinking of the blood, but the woman and how she's supposed to do things. And, or any blood issuing out of a person, the law that he has for that. And so I was thinking about sharing. Have you ever thought about maybe washing our hands before sitting down to read and study his word? And how that could be a small yet appreciated gesture of reverence unto him? Just before we sit down, we're going to wash our hands. When you think about the Levites and how strict their laws of cleaning this word before entering in, ought we also to consider our ways? It's just a thought. Just a thought. Something to think about. Based on Isaiah 1, verses 16 through 20, he says, wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do right. Seek justice, righteousness. Seek justice, relieve the oppressed, and correct the oppressor. Defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, says Yahuah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be like wool. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Yahuah has spoken it. Cease to do evil. We know that our adversary and accuser works hard day and night to eliminate us from citizenship in Yah's kingdom. He takes every opportunity he can get, even planting seeds of evil thoughts and evil intents as we sleep. He will get in dreams. He will do things. And remember, there's a parable when Yahuah talked about the seed that while men slept, the enemy planted seeds. So just as the adversary goes over and beyond in his efforts to destroy Yah's people, Yah will strengthen us. He will strengthen us. For every move the adversary makes, Yah's making a move. If we're willing. He says, if you're willing and obedient. we'll eat the good of the land. So he will strengthen us to do what it takes to honor him and stay the course. The biggest fight we have is staying focused, taking precept upon precept, a little here, a little there, line upon line, precept upon precept, and studying to show ourselves approved unto Yahuah, a workman that needed not be ashamed, righteously dividing the word of truth, his Torah. You think about it, we're studying for a higher matter than professionals who study regulations, policies, guidelines, laws, and everything else they have to do to prove themselves for those licenses. The more we study the law and realize that our deeds are either wicked or righteous, they're either evil or good, we're going to be more qualified to counsel with the Almighty Sovereign One, the righteous judge. The more we know his law, we'll be able to commune with him in a different way. Remember, Adam used to walk in the cool of the day with him. Their relationship was so close that when he fell, Father already knew it. He came looking for him. In closing, remember, it is not whether it's right or wrong. The question is it good or is it evil? Is it righteous or is it wicked? And we can ask ourselves before we get ready to partake in something, will it be good or evil if I do this, say that, or side with them on this? Saying, will it be right or wrong, sounds like we can do whatever it is we want to do without consequences. We just do what we decide to do because it's our right to choose. But I know for me, just in the last 2 days, was it? It was yesterday when he started talking to me about right and wrong. Just when I think about some of my actions, I'm thinking, okay, is that good or evil? It makes a difference. Dabarim 30, verse 6, and Yahuah Aluah will circumcise your heart. I'm saying, Father, circumcise my heart and the heart of your seed. Yes, Father, bring my descendants in. To love Yahuah Aluah with all thine heart. So I'm going to read it again. I got excited. So let me read it again. And Yahuah Aluah will circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed. To love Yahuah Aluah with all your heart and with all your being, that you may live. And Yahuah Aluah will put all of these curses upon your enemies and on them that hate you. And have persecuted you. And you will return and obey the voice of Yahuah and do all his commandments which I command you this day. And Yahuah Aluah will make you plenteous in every work of your hand, and the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your cattle, and the fruit of your land for good. For Yahuah will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you will listen to the voice of Yahuah Aluah to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law. And if you turn into Yahuah Aluah with all your heart and with all your being, for this commandment that I command you this day, it is not hidden from you, neither is it far off. It is not in the Shamayim that you should say, should we go up into the Shamayim and bring it down? That we may hear and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, when we meditate on it, it's going to be like frontlets between our eyes. It's going to be what we speak, what we think. It's near us. It is in our mouth and in our heart that we may do it. See, I have set before you this day life and death, good and evil. And that I command you this day to love Yahuah Aluah, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And Yahuah Aluah shall barak you in the land that you are going to possess. Dabarim 29:29. The secret things belong unto Yahuah Aluah, But those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the works of his laws. His law, it doesn't have an S, law. Genesis 3, verse 22. And Yahuah Aluah said, Behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. Good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahuah Aluah sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to tell the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of the Eden cherubim and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Revelations 22, verse 14. But blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. So, you had told me yesterday morning, I had just barely woke up, and that's what he said. It is not right or wrong. I was like, oh, it's good or evil. And in the last 24, 36 hours, I really been thinking about that and really trying to check myself. You know, I told you one of the most recent, it might have been Stop It, I think. Stop It or Be Cut Off. I think that was the audio. But I was saying how they know the law. They have studied the law and then made their laws. And their laws are not even really considered laws because laws can't be changed. Those are rules because they change them all the time on us. The laws, like you got the law of gravity and what's the one with velocity and distance and whatever. And it was, I'm not a physics student, but the things that Yah has put into place and said they are laws, those are laws. He's not changing. That's it. It's just like I've said this on other audios. If a man and woman partake in the activity that could possibly produce a child, well, that's a law. That's going to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that he ordained it or he sanctioned it. It happened. They did the act. So we have to know that what he has said, he means. And that's what he says, if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken it. That was in Yeshayahu chapter 1, verse 20. Where else did he say something about something that he said? But we are to keep his commandments. Adam made a choice, and I don't know why. May we not. And that's why I asked that question about me. Like, is there anything in me that's so evil? You know, or that arrogant? Or, you know, anything that would cause me to usurp over his authorities, you know, his authority that he has said, the word by his own authority that he has spoken and said, it shall be this way. Adam forfeited all of that. The children of Yashrael quickly forgot the fear that they felt in hearing the voice of the Most High. He's already said that it's going to be deception, that if it was possible, it would deceive the very elect. Oh, and also too, you know, from time to time I come back and I say, what is that secret place of the Most High, Psalms 91? And at one point I thought it was being a commandment keeper. Then I thought it was his name. And then I thought it was, I think it was just between those two. Well, now I believe it's both, but I really think it's the commandment keepers. And I believe being the commandment keepers is what's going to make us one with him. Because remember we talked, Yahushua and Yohanan 17 talked about us being one with him and the Father. And then Yohanan 15 talking about us being one and being in the vine. I believe it's commandment keepers. That's going to be the secret place. Because all through the Torah, he talks about, if you keep my commandments, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this. I believe it's commandment keepers. Law keepers. Truly living by it. I think that's what it is. But We'll keep asking and he'll lead us. He said, seek me with all your heart and I'll be found of you. So with that, brothers and sisters, this is going to help me walk softly, more softly before. Well, walk soft because now I look at it, I wasn't walking softly. I wasn't walking what I thought was softly. I wasn't. And I was kind of hard on myself today. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't do that. And I said, you got to remember, this is so new, but it's line upon line, precept upon precept, a little here, a little there. And each day striving to do that and listening to the law and reading it, it's becoming like frontlets between my eyes because I'm thinking about it more. But it's not right or wrong. That's some of that religion stuff. It's not right or wrong. It's either good or evil. It's either righteousness or wickedness. And now that you hear it, doesn't that sound right? Right or wrong? That sounds so weak, so fleshly. It's either wicked or it's righteous. It's either good or it's evil. He said, I present before you this day life and death, good and evil. He didn't say right or wrong. Right or wrong really does sound like it gives us power to make every choice we want and there's no consequences. It's a slap on the hand, maybe. So, brothers and sisters, I am going to close. Oh, my. It's not right or wrong. It's good or evil, wickedness or righteousness. And that's why we are going to, when we live by this, we are going to be the apple of his eye. We are going to be precious to him for sure. He is looking for the people. That's the remnant. Those are the remnant people. Those are the remnant people. I thought I was a remnant a few months ago. Well, a few days ago. But now I'm seeing, no. Oh my. There has been so much in these few days. I'm going to say days. Been a couple of weeks a few days. Let me just say a few days. That I've been seeing things. I'm like, oh. Even the fringes of tistis. I have a challenge with those words. One translation, or not even one translation, same translation, one reading says four corners and other says the borders. And so I was doing four corners because that's what those people across the water, they do, the four corners, the blue and white, but I think border makes sense because if I was going to get protection around my borders, if I was going to put a fence around my property, I wouldn't just do like a few planks in different parts, just like a few in 4 different spots. It would be the whole surrounding. If I'm wanting y'all to protect my surroundings, my boundaries, I want the whole perimeter, right? So I'm beginning to think it's supposed to be the whole thing, but I don't think it's like that other group of people does it. Brothers and sisters, we are going to, I feel good. I feel he's going to tell us if we're looking and we're desiring and delighting in this law, he's going to show us, and we're not going to be deceived by any man. Even those who look and talk like us, some of them could deceive us. But when we get in it, I'm telling you, we're going to be able to sit down and counsel with Father because it's going to be all about the law. That's his language. Brothers and sisters, you stay committed and loving to Father and righteous and longing for his way and his will, and we're going to make it. So next time, we'll talk a little bit more about this. And as we're learning, all praises be to the Father, the great one. And we win in Yahuah. And that's why we don't have to fight, because he's already said what he's going to do to our enemies. When we're commandment keepers, we don't have to fight. Something happens, we just take it. There's a message on here, an audio on here that says when disaster happens, when trouble comes, Father's already on it. He's already on it because he saw it come before he got there. But it comes to see what we're going to do. Praise y'all. Till next time, stay encouraged and remember that we win in Yahuah. We win in Yahuah. Our life is in his hands, and he is our life. I think it's Deuteronomy. That might be Dabarim 30. And he is our life. I love you in Yahuah. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. We are working towards citizenship, the eternal kingdom with the Most High. We're commandment keepers. We're law keepers. We are not among the lawless. We keep his laws. Talk to you soon. In the name of Yahuah, stay safe, stay committed, stay close. Musa said one time, cleave to him. Until next time, praise Yah.